Actually, you know what? Yeah, it's 10 minutes off. What the heck? Jim can show up at 9:30. That's fine. He's got to do what he's got to do, and that's fine. I figured come on a few minutes early, just talk about the stream. Can you see me okay, Mark and William? Everything look okay? Background's good. Everything's good. Um, this is a true Q&A. People do Q&A streams, and it's a lot of banter. Hi, how you doing? Love your channel, yada, yada. This is the time to talk about generators with the resident expert, James Condon. And that's why I do this. The third one we've done together. And we answer a lot of questions for people. Jim does anyway. I try and answer whatever I can. People have questions about me, questions about Jim. That's fine too. But the main thing is it's a Q&A about generators. So a lot of people have questions. What do I look for when I buy a generator? I'm having a problem, this and that. Now's the time to ask. If you're watching this at a later date, put it in the comments. Put your question in the comments. I guarantee you we will answer every question. So don't feel bad if you're sleeping. The guys over in the UK, I mean, we have Mark Wiley over there who's crazy enough to stay up to watch us. But those of you that are sleeping right now because it's 2:30 in the morning, hey, watch us later on. And if you have questions, post them, and we'll go from there. 5 horsepower government adjust. Yeah, I did that on a snow thrower actually. Will he couldn't get it to rev up, and he had the governor was actually all the lever was messed up on that one. Will I had to buy the new like Z-shaped governor arm that goes into the block. That was hard to find too. I had to get it on eBay. No one had one. So hey, bass guitarist, how are you? So like I said, as soon as Jim comes up, we'll put him up. I told him 9:30, sent him the link. But basically, like I said, this is a true Q&A. You get a lot of Q&As where people go up and hey, how you doing? Love your channel. Da, 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 da. That's fine. This is Q&A. You got a question, we'll answer it. Post it, we'll answer it. We'll try and do as best we can. Hey, Motor Tech, how are you? Um, Over revving, yep. Oh yeah. In fact, one of my friends, Thomas Andrews, who's a good friend of the channel, he's having that problem now with a 5 horsepower Tecumseh. And I told him how to do the whole governor adjustment, and maybe he's watching, but he's still having an issue with it. It was only low RPM, so we'll see. Chris is Small Engines. Hello, Chris. How are you? Just waiting for Jim Condon to show up, and we'll get started. But if there's any questions that anyone has about generators in general, small engines, generators, me or Jim, that's fine. WillieCK, how you doing, pal? We'll see what happens. We generally have a good showing. Last time we did this, we had, I think it was about 300 people showed up, so it was pretty good. We had a good showing. We had a lot of good questions. You had a lot of people from my stream and also from Jim's channel, so pretty cool. How often do you work on generators at the electronic component level? Through whole SMD. Jim can answer that better than me. What I do a lot of times, as far as a component level, I've only gotten to capacitors. That's about it. Jim can get in, and AVRs, the automatic voltage regulators, but the automatic voltage regulators are potted. Hey, Rusty Rooster, how are you? The automatic voltage regulators are potted, so you really can't take them apart to get to it. There are adjustable pots on some of those, but for the most part, the capacitor is the only thing I really component-wise that I play with. Jim can say different because he's worked on the microprocessor controlled generators that actually have the circuit board, and Jim can talk a little about that. He's done a few videos showing the circuitry where he's looked at diodes and capacitors, rectifiers and things like that. And he can probably talk a little bit better about that. So when Jim comes on, be sure to ask. If not, I will ask him. Toro 521, my favorite snow thrower. I had 3 of them. I have one now at my mom's house. Best. Oh, I love that engine too. The HS50. Actually, isn't it an HSK 50 Snow King? HSK 50 for Snow King. HS is usually horizontal small frame 5 horse. HSK is horizontal Snow King 5 horse. Then you have HSMK or HMSK horizontal medium duty Snow King. All the different things for Tecumseh. I love my Tecumsehs. Actually, hold on. Let me see. Where's my Tecumseh? Where's my Tecumseh logo? There we go. That's better. Tecumseh. I'm not shy. Lawnmower Detective. Hello, Dave. How are you? So we've got a few people in here. It's showing I have 21 right now looking, so that's cool. I started a few minutes early. Hopefully, Jim will chime in and we'll get him up on screen. And like I said, any questions you have about generators, even small engines, whatever. Speak of the devil, I see Jim in the basement. Give me a thumbs up, Jim. Make sure it's you. All right, here we go. All right, guys, introducing the man, the myth, the legend, Jim Condon. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Ken?
Good. Thank you for showing up, my friend.
No problem. You've had the week off.
Yeah, I tell you, and I picked a good week with weather. Beautiful week, you know?
Yeah. Today especially was just fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I did a couple of videos, and not that this is small engine related, but we're trying to buy a car for my wife, you know, and they want 3,000 above sticker for a car that's on the lot. I just won't do it. You know, yeah. I ordered a brand new one for 3,000 less. But I have to wait 2 months to get it. But anyway. All right, that's a different story. Watch my video. It's a little video on that. It's just the dealer was. I wanted to strangle him, but
yeah. Supply and demand's crazy. My refrigerator broke back in May, and I'm still waiting on the new one.
Oh,
it's great.
Capitalism at its best.
Yes.
All right. So welcome everybody in the chat. Jim is here. We've got 19 watching. We had as many as 21. I'm sure that'll grow because Jim's got a very. What are you up to now, Jim? About 46,000?
A little over 50.
Oh wow, they're beautiful. Even better. Cool. I hit the 1,000 mark a couple weeks ago, and little by little we'll get there. All right. One guy, bass guitarist, he's outside of Waterbury. He had this question here, Jim. How often do you work on generators at the component level? You had done a video, Jim, a while back where you had, I think it was a Generac that was microprocessor controlled, where it did a few things. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm trying to get more involved in PCB repair, but it's very slow. It seems like every PCB I need to repair is potted, and there's no or little information on it. I've done some basic repairs to like bridge rectifiers, things that weren't potted, but like the Yamaha, for example, the video I put out a few weeks ago with this huge potted inverter module, it's definitely beyond my skill set, but it's something I want to learn. And a lot of people don't try to depot something like that, probably for a good reason.
Well, how would you do it though, Jim? I mean, I've heard of people that will go in there with like a die grinder and try and do that. Some people try and bake it out. I mean, isn't it more like a thermoset plastic where you really can't bake it out because once it's formed, right? Like an epoxy.
Yeah, I mean, there's different types that they use. Some people boil them in water, which works pretty well because a lot of components can survive that temperature. Water, it boils at 212 degrees or 100 degrees Celsius. And that's a fairly safe way because if you use a heat gun to soften it, you can easily just burn everything, melt the solder joints, and just destroy the components. But people do use acetone, they use bridge ports, they use special chemicals designed to depot stuff.
Yep.
So I thought about it on that one, but it's probably more than I want to tackle.
Cool. I guess you had a post about your, 10 million views and 50K. So congrats on that. I didn't see it, but that doesn't mean I won't. So that's pretty well. Now, how many years you been on, Jim?
About 4.
Okay. Hey, Rick Broman's here. Hello, Rick. All right. Any other questions from anybody? I was watching your last one where I guess you got it for free, didn't you? The blue one?
Yeah.
That was
the Duramax.
Good. Yeah. Now, was that just the Chinese, whatever?
Yeah, they pretty much all are. It's a Honda clone, 212cc, just, like a Predator sized engine.
Jim, why do you work on the floor instead of on a bench?
I have a bench, but it's always full of projects.
But how are you going to put a 400-pound generator on a bench?
Well, that's the other thing. Like I watch, Bruce put everything on the mowers and start the mowers.
Well, you do need the lift. I thought you bought a lift table. Didn't you buy one?
No, I got a hoist, and I was looking to either build or buy just a table with some nice casters on it, so I could lift, the 300-pound generators on it if I wanted to. But I mean, to be honest, I sit My day job involves a lot of sitting. So it's not like I'm on the ground 10 hours a day doing this stuff. I spend an hour or two a day shooting video. And, you might see me on the ground for an hour watching the video, or maybe not an hour, but, on and off. But that's over the course of 5 days a week, so as of right now, it hasn't been a problem. But if I start doing more, or I age a little more,
I think a motorcycle lift would probably be better for you. The kind where you put the wings on the side so you could lift larger things.
Yeah, ideally, I'd like a lift that I could actually drive the car over and still be able to get a generator up on it. But a lot of people don't realize, too, the lifts, they're not flat on the ground. They are 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah, yep.
And you got to pull, granted, a generator's 200 to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, but it just seems like more to go wrong.
Yeah. So here's a question about your ultrasonic, your magical solution.
Mountain Dew.
That's what it looks like.
Some people have accused me of that, or Mr. Clean. But it's actually, I've never tried Mr. Clean. That could work, but it's actually Harbor Freight super heavy duty degreaser. And I tried a bunch of stuff, and once I used that, I never tried anything else. So there may be better things, but that's a fairly safe chemical. It's non-toxic, non-flammable, easy to dispose of, and it's cheap.
Doesn't Mr. Clean have ammonia in it, though?
I think some do. I'm not sure.
Because I'd be nervous with it discoloring the aluminum.
Yeah, that was the biggest problem. A lot of the things I tried either didn't work, or the carburetor came out like black.
Yeah, purple power. Guaranteed to turn it dark gray.
Yep.
Let's see. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. Rick, Dr. LM, hello. Let's see who else we got on here.
And just so you know, bass guitarist, what is it, 1985? He has his own channel.
Yeah, he's outside Waterbury, actually.
Yeah, he's does a lot of generator repair, a lot of electronics, and definitely very interesting stuff.
Yeah, if you want to post your link, bass guitarist, feel free. Feel free. So we got here. Oh, here's a question for you. Do you use Honda parts on Chinese engine?
I have for testing purposes only. I actually have used Chinese clones on Hondas and Honda stuff on clones, and carburetors mostly, and it works. Little oil modules, that sort of thing.
I got that needle today, by the way, the Sten's needle you recommended. I'm going to try it out tomorrow. The only thing I was nervous about, Jim, was this is a GX390. It's on actually, it's a Gravely generator. I've never seen a Gravely generator. It looks like a Briggs generator for the most part, but it's a Honda GX390, and it's 5,000 watt. Okay. But with a GX390. And the thing is, I'm a little nervous about the plastic seat. It's got that plastic H-shaped piece where your foot goes on. I mean, should I use lapping compound when I do it, or just a Q-tip with some solvent?
You know, the plastic seats, I've never had issues with it sealing. It's usually the needle or junk. You know, Q-tip. I usually just used a Q-tip with some carb cleaner sprayed on the end, and
I'll do that. Yeah, I got to attack that tomorrow. But the guy, it was nasty. My hand smelled like varnish for 3 days. That's how bad it was. Oh, I can't stand that.
Nice.
So, okay, everyone's saying hello. Jeremiah, hello. See, Dr. LM, everyone's saying hello. Bloodbath, love our channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Hopefully you're subscribed. Thank you very much. Showers. Hello, Michael. Who else we got here? Let me scroll. Ooh, chat's moving. I'm not going to slow it down, but I got to keep up with it. Why does my Oh, here's a good one. Rick Broman. He cleaned the car. Yeah, but Rick, you had emailed me on this, Rick. The generator surge, number one, Rick. I don't know what brand or whatever it is, but 99% of the time, there's two things that cause a lot of the surging. And after I speak, Jim, you tell me your thoughts. But the two things that I know of, the pilot jet, of course, we always see the pilot jet, and then broken or cracked gaskets or the wrong gaskets causing a little bit of air to go in there. Those are the two that I've seen, or bad gas, of course, old gas. But what are your thoughts on surging, Jim?
Yeah, it's usually lean condition. I guess I would. Does it go away when you choke it a little? Because if it does, then it's definitely starving for fuel.
Yep.
And it's either a bad gasket, like you said, Ken. It could even be the insulator that's cracked,
Yep.
or warped, so it's not making a good seal. I have seen definitely jetting problems. I was working on a GX 390 that was fighting me, just surging. And I refused to drill the jet out. I'm like, this is a Honda. It's a Honda OEM carb. I actually bought a new Honda OEM carb, and it still surged.
Wow.
So I finally drilled the jet out
Yeah.
and ran perfect.
Really?
But the thing is, if you're going to drill a jet out, make sure you can get another jet.
Yeah.
I've done that before and
I've gone oversized and richened it up. I've done that. Yep.
Yeah, I've done that too. And the one I did it on in particular, I paid for because they didn't sell the jets. They only sold the carburetor. So I figured, $10, get a new jet.
Sure.
Nope. Had to buy the whole carb.
And I remember Terrell did that video where they used the gasket that came with the carburetor, and the hole was larger than the actual hole for the venturi of the carburetor, and it was allowing air into the mix. So you have to look at the gaskets when you put them on too, that they match up to the right ports and everything else, so you're not allowing air from the outside in.
Yeah, a lot of times too, like on the Hondas especially, there's 3 different gaskets. There's one behind the insulator, one between the carb and the insulator, and the one between the airbox and the carb.
Yep.
And you can get them mixed up. They'll fit kind of, but if you don't put them in the right order, or like you said, some of the ones they send aren't even for your setup.
Oh yeah, you've got a half-inch hole, and the gasket has a 1-inch hole, and now it's open to atmosphere, and you don't even realize it. One thing that kills me on those is that thick metal rubber-coated gasket that they have usually in front of the carburetor between the airbox, because a lot of times I've seen them bent. I've seen them where the rubber's worn off, causing air and stuff like that. But usually it's on the outside of the carb, so it's not going to cause an air leak for a lean condition.
Yeah, I like those because they come off usually clean, but a lot, depending upon the engine, you sometimes, I'm thinking of like Subaru in particular, it's almost impossible to get the carb off without destroying.
Oh yeah, the gasket is laminated and pulls off in like 3 layers,
Yeah.
Question from Dave Million, the lawnmower detective. James, what would be your first suggestion if I were to get in a generator that has obviously been underwater? Well, Jim's had some of those.
Yeah, that's tough because, I guess the first question is the cylinder aluminum or is it lined, like in a steel sleeve? Because that's going to rust up pretty quick, the cylinder, if it's not an aluminum sleeve. Obviously, the rings are going to rust. And my question is, what kind of water in it? Was it clean? Or is there sand and dirt in the water? Because, I think if it was just water, you could clean it out and it would run. But if it's sand and dirt in the water and that got in there, then it'll run, but I think it's going to stop running sooner than later unless you actually take the engine apart and actually clean all the parts out.
Okay. Let's see. Another fan, Jim. Stella.
I saw her.
Stella, I just gave the extra sticker you sent me, Stella, to my oldest daughter who's in love with you. She loves watching you say a different name every time you come on and do a video. So her fiance does that now, I guess, where he'll change his name on his shirt or something. So that's interesting. So pretty cool. Let's see what else we got here. The chat is flowing. Let's see. Dr. LM says hello. William says put a lift table on your. Do you have a wish list, Jim? You have one, right?
I don't have a wish list.
You have like a suggestive store. Is that what it is? Where people can buy the things that you use? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I try to put the stuff that I use on there because people are always asking, what is that? Where do you get it? So, it's an Amazon store, so I'm limited to what's on Amazon, which is quite a bit. But they don't have, obviously, everything like the Harbor Freight stuff I use. But I try to put the stuff I use or the closest thing I can find. But the lift thing, part of it's space. I mean, this garage is packed with generators, tractors, go-kart, a lift table. It's just
But Jim, I'm jealous. Your garage is 4 times the size of mine. So
it's a big garage, but it's crowded in here.
But you've got height. That's the thing.
Yeah, if I was smart, I would get some sort of stacking system and just stack the generators right to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. That's good, Jackhammer. Let us know what you're working on. I'd love to help you. Let's see. Everyone's saying hello, hello, hello. Let's see who else is here. Hey, Zombie's here. Hello, Zombie. Here's a good one. What dilution do you use at Harbor Freight?
I don't measure it out. It depends on how bad the carburetor looks. And I just pour it until I get the right color.
Like in that Harbor Freight ultrasonic you use, that Chicago, whatever it is, that one you use, it looks like you got about a half a cup, roughly.
Yeah, I would guess about 10% solution and 90% water. I think double wide 6, I think I saw him using it 100%.
Really?
And I know of at least seen one comment where someone did that, and they kind of destroyed their carburetor. But
is it more soap, Jim? I mean, what is it? Is it like greasy when you put it between your fingers, or what does it actually feel like?
I don't know.
I'm curious, because I'm curious if it's a soap or if it's just a clean.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is, but it works.
I may go tomorrow. I got to pick up another kilowatt for one of my giveaways, so I'm going to probably pick up some. Let's see. Anyone here watching? Who doesn't watch Terrell Fixes All? In fact, he's at the GIE right now signing autographs in Louisville, and some of our friends actually got to meet him yesterday. Dave, Lawnmower Detective, met him, and Tom Doby and some of the other guys. So I wish I could go. Maybe next year I'll go. We'll see what happens. All right. Robert Malhouse. Hello, Robert from... Is he Florida or Georgia? I think he's Georgia. Yeah, he's from Georgia. Hello, Robert. How are you? Let's see. Lawnmower Lacing. Hello. What else we got here? Oh, the chat just jumped. Man, I hate when it does that. I'm not. All right. You know what, guys? This chat is getting nutso. I'm going to scroll down to some questions because that's what it's all about. Everyone's saying hello. Look in the chat for everyone saying hello. Let me see if I can get some things here. WillieCK. I try not to touch green fuel. Yeah, I know the smell. I can't stand it. It's varnish. It actually turns to varnish. Here's a question. Does spark plug heat range make a lot of difference in generators? What do you think, Jim?
Oh, God. I'm not a heat range expert.
Do you try and read plugs?
Do I try to do what?
Read plugs for the light brown color.
I do. Sometimes I actually get accused of not checking the spark plug enough. And I mean, honestly, almost everything I get, I don't think it has ever been the plug. In my case, it's always the carb or the coil or just the valves, lack of compression. So the plug is usually the last thing I look at, but it is a good thing to read to see what the engine is doing. So if the engine is running poorly and I can't figure out why, I'll pull the plug and take a look. Is it gapped right? Is it white? Is it carboned up, covered with oil? It'll tell you, give you some clues.
Yeah, I find most of the engines that I've seen lately with the long reach plugs and the NGK and RC12YCs and all that, they're lean. They're running lean. They're running a lot of white because the mixture is so lean with these newer engines. So to say, look for the chocolate brown or the cocoa, what I call light and sweet coffee, you look for that color. Hard to do with today's engines, especially the overhead valves, because they run them so darn lean. They really do. They have to meet emissions. You're never going to find that brown color like you used to,
Yeah. Sorry, just go back to the heat range thing too. There was one Honda I worked on that just would not run perfect. And I ended up changing the plug. I think I went up one to get it a bit hotter. Ran perfect with that plug.
Was it using oil or anything, Jim?
No.
Because usually that's the hot plug, Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a better burn. Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, William's asking if you've ever had to change a stator. William, shame on you. If you've ever watched a Jim Condon video, he's changed many stators. Okay.
Yeah, but in an engine, are you talking about a generator stator or a stator behind the flywheel.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking small engines like Kohler K's or Tecumseh's or Briggs, we've all changed the small stators and tractors and things like that. But are you talking about the big ones, William? In the because I know a lot of times Jim will take the engine off and test and save the gen set portion of it for something in the future. I know you've got a bunch of that under your bench, right, Jim? Spare parts and all that.
Yeah, I don't have enough, but I do have. I have right now 1.5 power heads. Unfortunately, and I have 2 engines, but none of them are compatible with each other. So they're just going to sit and wait.
Well, let me ask you, based on that, when you're looking for a parts generator, I know you like the Briggs and some of the other. What are your favorites when it comes to like the power heads? What's used a lot where you can interchange, if you will, or you see more of?
Yeah, I am learning this, but the Honda clones are actually quite interchangeable. The 5 and 6 horsepowers are all, I think, very similar. And the larger ones, like the 13 horse, like the GX 390, the 420 cc's, they are compatible. But the biggest problem, especially with the Honda clones, is that the exhaust system is custom made for that engine and for that stator.
Okay.
So the exhaust is probably the worst part on a Honda clone.
Yeah, I saw one of your videos, you were mentioning how important the heat shield was so that you wouldn't overheat a stator.
Yeah, the heat shielding is a big concern, and the exhaust, especially when the exhaust is attached to the stator, the length of that exhaust has to match the stator and the engine perfectly, or else none of the mounts are going to line up. So I like the Briggs ones because the exhaust is completely mounted to the engine and not to the engine and the stator.
Okay.
So it's easier to deal with.
Went from an NGK heat range 5 to a 7. I would say read the plug, Bloodbath. Read it. I mean, if the plug gets toward that coffee looking, cream and sugar, cocoa-y brown color, I say you're okay. But in most cases, like I said, you're going to find most of the carbs are jetted so lean, you're going to get white plugs. You're never going to get that brown unless you're riching the heck out of it, and then it won't run right. I mean, the biggest thing is when Jim looks at generators all the time, he uses his kilowatt meter where he wants the right. Why don't you talk about that, Jim? When you're running your generator, you look for what frequency and voltage when you start it versus when you load it.
Yeah, well, I mean, ideally it would be 120 volts, 60 hertz all the time, but all these engines, except for inverters, pretty much have mechanical governors, and they're not perfect. So when you put load on it, it tries to maintain the set speed, but you're always going to lose speed. So I aim for 60 hertz, 120 volts at half load. That way, when it's unloaded, it's running a little fast. And when it's loaded up, it's running a little slow. But it's not like you don't want to set it right at 60 hertz with no load, and then you load it fully and it's running at 56 hertz. Yeah. That's too low.
What is the danger point though? Is it 10%, Jim? What do you think? Like you say 60 is normal, under 55 is no good. I mean, roughly, what do you think?
It depends on what you're powering, but I think set plus or minus 7% is perfectly acceptable. And to be honest, a lot of things in your house are meant to run anywhere from 50 hertz, right, to 240 volts.
Yep.
Not everything. Obviously, like your refrigerator, your air conditioner, not going to like that too much, but your laptop, your phone charger, a lot of things that have the transformers in them are usually built to work worldwide. So, but with that said, you don't want to assume that the stuff you're powering is going to be fine.
Yeah, those that don't know, over in Europe, it's a 50 hertz standard, and it literally, except for America, I think all around the world is a 50 hertz standard. So, here, I know, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim. I know everywhere in Europe is 50 hertz. I don't think
50 hertz is more common. And honestly, I don't know if you've ever set an engine to 3,000 RPM versus 3,600 RPM, but it's much more pleasant to listen to.
Oh, definitely.
50 hertz, 3,000.
But won't it overheat a motor, though, that's rated for 60 if you're running 50 hertz? I was told that if you run something that's rated for 60 at 50, you're going to overheat the windings.
I don't think so.
No? Okay. I'd like to look that up because someone told me that one time. All right, here's a question here. Is it possible to remove a spark plug and use an electric modified motor to rotate the rotor and see if it will produce wattage, etc.? The only problem, though, Lee, that I see is generators are used with a tapered crankshaft. And how would you couple it directly to use another motor? How would you get the correct end configuration on the input shaft? They're made to be drawn into a taper and held in with the taper. And if anyone has watched Jim's videos, he's got some pretty cool tricks using water, little Teflon tape, and some nuts and bolts, and pops those things off. But it's a tapered fit that actually connects the engine to the generator. So I know what you're trying to say. If you had something you could just stick on there, but generators don't have couplings. It's a direct hookup to the crankshaft of the engine with a taper.
Well, yes and no. Mostly yes, but there's only a ball bearing on one side of the generator head. Mm-hmm. The other side is the ball bearing or the bushing on the engine. Mm-hmm. So you need the engine block. You need the crankshaft. Granted, you can rip the guts out of it. You can take out, the valves, the camshaft, or the connecting rod, but you'd still have to hook up an electric motor or something to drive the crankshaft to spin the generator. And then my question is, why would you do that? Because you're going to need more power to produce power than you get out of it. You know what I mean? It's inefficient, the electric motor.
Yeah.
But if you can spin it at 3,600 RPM, it'll make power. The generator will. You don't need an engine to do that.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Should I use Marvel Mystery Oil in my generator's oil and gas? I love Marvel Mystery Oil in oil. I always put a little bit in. That's just me because I was taught that from a 90-year-old gentleman. And you know what? It's freed up engines for me. It's never done me wrong. So I am a fan of Marvel Mystery Oil.
Yeah, I don't use most of that stuff. I've tried it all, but I just feel like I don't know if it works.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll hurt.
I've used it to free up stuck rings and things like that, and I love the smell of it, to be honest with you.
Maybe I'm gonna buy some. I haven't smelled it before.
Yeah, it's like almost like a wintergreen. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Don't
drink it.
Let's see what we got here. I have a GXV 160 on a Victa. I'm not the best on Honda engines for me or vids. GX, so it's a vertical 160. That's more, is a Victa a mower? I'm trying to think what a Victa is. I'm assuming, Aussie, you're down there. GX 160 is probably the most common Honda engine there is, the GXV. I mean, it's used on how many of their mowers and all that stuff. I mean, there's a million videos out there. If you have a particular question on there, I would just do a YouTube search for GXV 160. There's a million videos out there on what to do. If there's any particular problem, throw it in the comments and we'll try and address it.
Yeah, I would say in general, though, not specific to that engine. Mm-hmm. Small engines, just take care of the fuel, take care of the oil. Those are probably the two best things you can do. And keep an air filter on it. You wouldn't believe how many things I pick up, and then you take off the airbox and there's no air filter. And I just, I'm in disbelief.
Something as simple as checking the oil. How many people have never, ever, ever changed the oil? Then they bring it to you after 5 years and say, hey, it just needs a tune-up.
Yeah. Yep.
Keep up the good work. Thank you, Killer Cam. Appreciate it.
Thank
I know
you.
Jim's got some dynamite videos. What else we have? A couple more. Ooh, what's this say here? 74 McCulloch Mighty Mac generator. I'm sorry. I actually worked on one of those. In fact, Jim, isn't that the McCulloch we had to find that capacitor for?
Was it a 7? Oh, was that a 74?
I had the overhead valve. Let me see. 7 horse. Oh, that's an oldie. Yeah, 74.
Yeah.
That has points in it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
With 75 praise, get it running great. After a few minutes, the generator head starts smoking. Uh-oh. That's one for you. Smoking from where, though?
Yeah, I would, I guess, well, I would check the flywheel fan. I assume it's cast, it's probably not plastic like you have now. So I can't imagine you have broken fins. The only other thing I could think of is it's running lean or there's something wrong with the timing.
But he's saying the head starts smoking, the generator, not the
Oh, the
motor.
generator. Oh, sorry. I thought the engine
Because
head.
to me, that's a short in
Yeah.
the windings or something. And I'm like, but why would it have to wait a few minutes to do that, Jim? Would it have to build up amperage to start melting insulation?
Yeah, the insulation's only rated for a certain temperature. So yeah, once it heats, it's probably the insulation that's smoking more so than the wire,
Now,
the
would that be a
copper.
resistance check, Jim? What would he do with that?
It is a resistance check, but that only tell you so much. You have to isolate all the coils in the stator, like disconnect them, isolate them, and check each coil to the ground of the stator
Is
and
there a
check.
video you have, Jim, that he can reference? Do you remember any kind of videos that you would have that would show anything like that?
Yes, there's been plenty of videos. I'm just trying to think of one, like the last one I did.
Yeah.
Maybe
Would you
the
ever have titled one though, Jim, that said check for shorts or check head or anything like that?
no power. If you search for like no power, um, I have a few out there. I don't know if you'll find the exact best one, but a lot of them will show you, especially the more recent ones. I mean, I've been getting a little bit better at checking for faults, but basically you want to check each coil to ground and check each coil to itself. There should be no connections. And if there is, there's definitely an insulation failure. And I would say if it's smoking,
Mhm.
there's an insulation failure, unless there's something down under the cover, where the generator head is. Maybe it's a bridge rectifier. Sometimes it's a little circuit board, but if it's actually coming from the stator, then
Mm.
you
Okay.
probably have a bad stator.
All right, Dave, Lawnmower Detective, thank you so much. It will help out my channel. I really appreciate it. All right, let's see what else we have. There's a ton in here. I know Mixed Mowers is in here now, and Pate's is in here, and all kind. I'm trying to, guys. I'm going through the chat. Bear with me. I'm going through the whole thing, so bear with me. I'll get to you. Mouse nest in the generator. They chewed up the wires. I rewired the outlets, but it still smokes. So I shut her down quickly. Well, that was good. In a case like that where the mouse ate through stuff, Jim, I mean, you talking a complete rewire? What do you think?
Of the stator or the control panel? Because the control panel you can rewire. The stator, you have to rewind it. You have to put. It's a whole skill set that I don't have, and it's very time consuming. So if the stator's bad, usually you have to find a replacement from another used generator that's compatible.
Just so everybody knows, it's 9:57, and I'm only at 9:42 in the chat, so bear with me. I'm just trying to show everybody so everybody gets a chance. To judge the condition of any engine, I use prime for a good time, checking fluids and fuel. Oh yeah, I mean squirt. We squirt carb cleaner in there. If we get a pop, Jim always starts it out like get a pop. Ooh, that's good, and then does the old light bulb trick, and if it flickers and goes on, it's like ooh, we got something decent. So Bloodbath, thank you. No problem, Bloodbath, anytime. Here's one. It's not about generators, but we got John Deere bush mower. In order to take off the big plastic housing cover, you have to take off the flywheel nut. No, flywheel nut, a lot of Briggs are like that. Cowies are like that. The flywheel nut holds on the grass screen a lot of times. And if the grass screen is above the shroud and holds the shroud on, or not holds it on, but it's above the shroud, you have to take it off. No, that's common. Just make sure, though, that you don't over torque that nut when you put it back on, or under torque. Look up what the torque's supposed to be on the flywheel nut. It is important. If it's too loose, it can loosen up. You get banging, knocking. It's not good. If it's too tight, you can actually fracture the crankshaft. So be careful with that flywheel nut.
Yeah, definitely. Over tight is much worse than too loose. I'd rather have a flywheel flying off than busting my engine.
Hello, Mick. Let's see who else we got. Now I'm at 9:47. I'm catching up. Hold on, guys. See if there's any more questions. I don't want to miss anybody because, like I said, when I do a Q&A, guys, this is a Q&A. I want to answer all questions. Hey, you want to say hi? How you doing? That's great. But I want to answer questions. That's what it's all about for me. All right, let's see what we got here. So if a generator is supposed to run at 36, which it is, 60 hertz, 60 cycles per second, 60 times 60, 3,600, and it's running at 3,000, will it smoke? What do you think, Jim?
A generator head?
I think that's what he's
asking. What we're talking about?
Yeah, if you run it too low of an RPM, will the generator itself smoke? It just won't put out power.
No, I mean, there's generators that come with idle down. So when there's no load on it, it'll idle down. It slows down to about 45 hertz, which I guess is what, like 2,800 RPM. And it's still putting out power the whole time. It's just low hertz, low voltage.
Yeah. But Jim, what happens though when it goes into the idle mode when don't have a lot of load right there? I mean, your lights in your house are going to flicker, things like that, right? I mean, you're not delivering full frequency.
Right. It's reduced power and hertz output, and it's only supposed to do it when there's no load on it. But
there's always a load.
Right. If you have 80 watts on it, it might consider that not a load.
Oh, okay.
So it will scale it down, but maybe your phone's plugged in, your laptop. So I don't like that feature, but it's good if you're on a construction site. It probably saves a lot on gas.
Yeah. But in a house, though, I mean, there's always a load, right? I mean, I don't know any house that doesn't.
Exactly.
I always wondered, what good is that feature on a home? I don't know.
It's not.
Yeah. Here's another one. I had a machine shop fit one crank taper to another crankshaft. Oh, yeah, you can do that as long as you got a good machine shop and you can match up the taper and all that stuff. Pincore. I remember I had a pincore generator that mounted to the front of a Cub Cadet tractor. Pincore is a very popular brand. Absolutely. All right, let's see. I'm up to 9:51. I'm getting close. I'm within 9 minutes. Here we go. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me see. Question for Ken. Do you have VIP pass for all the drive-thru? He's talking about my breakfast, where I go to breakfast every day. Hey, luckily, the place I go to breakfast is right next door to my small engine dealer. So that's another reason.
Perfect.
I get my breakfast. I visit my friend. You saw the videos, LNR Power Equipment. He's my buddy. Hey, he helped Top Conquer today. He had a 30-year-old emulsion tube in stock that Conquer couldn't get in the UK. Yeah. It's in the mail. So, we help each other out. I do
drive-thrus. See that?
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Mick found out. Victor is a two-stroke mower found in Australia. So, I'd like to know more about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I wish I had one of those.
Mark, you're thinking my language. Mark, there you go. All right. Let's see. Here's one. What voltage does it output on an inverter generator motor?
The voltage on the AC side outputs 60 hertz, 120 volts, or 50 hertz, 230 volts, depending upon where you live. And that's it.
Yeah, you made a comment today, Jim, in that video where you liked the feature where you could switch off the 240 and just run independent 120. Can you talk about that a second?
Yeah, I mean, that's not on an inverter generator, but at least on all the generators in this country, and I suspect other countries, but it's more an issue here because a lot of our generators have 120 volts and 240 volts. And to do that, there's two legs, 120 each. So if you have a 5,000 watt generator, you actually only have 2,500 watts on each leg. That is the max at 120 volts you can pull. End of story. Unless you have that switch where you can switch it into 120 volt mode only, and then it takes the two coils that were in series and now they're in parallel working together. So you're actually spreading the load across the entire capability of the generator. So now the generator head is sharing the load, and you can actually put on a 5,000 watt load at 120 volts.
See, I'll say it for all the guys out there, Jim. Wait a minute. Okay. All right. Probably went over a few head. No, I would love Jim Condon to do a series called Generators for Dummies, where you actually talk about the electrical theory of the windings and this and that, just, even with a whiteboard or something, just to give us a little bit of an education sometime in the future. Because I know you had to learn it from videos and everything else, but so many people out there, just the basics. I know when I first started watching you, I mean, I'm a nut, you know me, I'll research anything to death. So I do know what it's about right now. But when I first started, everything you said was like, yeah, okay, nothing.
And you've been watching my videos.
I have everyone. I binge watched one time. I think I watched like 100 in a day.
Oh God.
Let's see what we got here. Another question. Oh. Can you talk about 5500 electric start conversion? What do we mean by that? He's got a 5500 watt generator that he wants to convert to electric start.
You can do it, but I usually tell, assuming the parts are available, and they probably are, but I always ask people why. It would probably be cheaper to sell yours and buy one with an electric start, because you need the battery, the cabling, a starter solenoid, a switch. You need, did I already say this? The flywheel teeth, the starter motor. You need a lot of parts, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Sometimes they don't come with the ring gear already. Yeah.
No, they don't. And does the engine and even the blower housing cover have the cutouts for it?
Exactly. And the block, does the block have the tapped holes for it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Generally, engines are made or not made for electric start conversion, and you have to make sure yours is convertible.
Yeah. A lot of times they're not, without some major, or they're just not. A lot of them, they either are or they're not. Sometimes you can tell by looking at it that it is possible.
Mason, I know you want to stay. Email me, Mason. Email me. Mason likes his stickers. Let's see what else we got out there. Oh, there's another one. Jackhammer. Oh, let's see. Should I be running my generator at least once a year? I bought a Briggs, not a storm responder, in September 2020. Started up to test it once again to winterize it. Haven't needed it. What's your thoughts on generators used once a year, Jim?
Yeah, I guess it depends where you store it. I always hear you should run it once in a while to put a load on it to dry the windings out. Of course, small engines in general, you need to run them. The oil on the engine, I mean, I know there's a coat of oil on everything, but if you let it sit long enough, a lot of that oil will be gone by the time you start it. I actually have a brand new storm responder in a box. It's 12 years old.
Wow.
Never been turned over. No one's even pulled the rope. And I wanted to sell it the last hurricane we got, but I'm like, I can't sell this. Like, there's a chance this engine could just blow up.
Yeah.
Or maybe it doesn't make power because it lost magnetism because it's been sitting in a box. So
have you bought it new from a box store, or how'd you get it?
No, someone had it in their basement for 12 years.
Holy cow.
In the box.
Interesting.
That'll be a future video when I run out of everything else to do.
Should I ground my generator, and does it matter? Is it bonded, neutral, or floating neutral?
That is a great question. Sure.
Do people even know what bonded or floating is?
Probably not. Yeah. I think it's a pretty advanced topic, but basically most generators are bonded, but not all. Meaning the neutral and the ground are basically the same. They're connected together. And if you're running a generator off by itself, that's probably fine. I think you are supposed to technically ground your generator to the ground. But if you connect it to a house, at least in North America, the neutral and the ground are bonded in your main panel. So if your generator is bonded and your main panel is bonded, you actually now have two paths, neutral and ground, between your generator and your panel, where the neutral can return on. And that can increase the risk of electrocution. But don't ask me any more than that. All I know is having two bonded points in your system is not a good thing. So if it's connected to your house, your generator should be unbonded. And if it's not connected to your house, it should be bonded.
Jim, would you put a ground line on the generator frame into the earth?
I never have. Doesn't mean you should do that. I guess you should in case something goes wrong. But if it's connected to your house, then it is grounded to earth.
Pros and cons of using the stator bolt to spin the engine or spin the rotor. So what are you trying to take a drill motor and see if it'll generate?
If the spark plug's out, it's probably okay. But that bolt, there's two different sizes, and one of them will probably snap at 30 foot-pounds. So you got to be careful with that bolt. It's very long and thin, and it will break pretty easily. You're better off spinning the engine with the flywheel nut.
Makes sense. We all love you, David. Everyone wants to know about Riley Boy. We all love Riley Boy. Hello, Riley. And Mick still loves everybody, and Riley Boy is doing great. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I'm at 10 o'clock, so I'm only 9 minutes behind. That's not too bad. Here we go. Jeremiah with another question. Could you explain all the ways that gas could get into your oil? Pardon me, I'm still new at small engine. Well, I'll start with that one, then you could add in Jim. Usually when your needle and seat fail, the gas gets by. It can go up into the intake, into the engine, into your crankcase. It all depends on the type of engine, the construction of it, more with overhead valve than with flatheads. But on flatheads, if your intake valve is open and it goes into the carburetor and into your intake, guess what? It's going past that intake valve. It's going to deposit into your engine. If you're fortunate, your needle and seat are leaking and your intake valve is closed, it'll just keep pouring out your air filter. So it's luck in that case.
Yeah, and the generators are pretty much all gravity fed. So if that needle and seat aren't working, gravity is going to pull all the fuel from that tank and put it at the lowest point, which is in your engine. And it can usually go through, past the rings, but I've seen some airbox designs too, where it can go right into the breather and down into the engine that way real quick. I had a Tecumseh that had fuel in the oil. I changed the oil, brought it outside, and it immediately filled up the airbox and went right down the breather into the oil again. So I had to change the oil again 10 minutes later.
Killer can you post your general question again? I know you're talking about DC voltage, but I apologize. I don't recall the whole conversation. So if you post that, I will make sure I get to it. William, Jim, what's your other hobbies besides generators?
Oh, God. I don't think I have any now. It's pretty much all generators, but it used to be computers. I used to build a lot of my own computers and did a lot of hardware.
This question goes into that too, Jim.
And actually today I was just installing a camera for a friend at a business. They wanted to be able to live stream so parents could watch their kids. So I spent half the morning tracing all these wires that were unlabeled, which, these data closets have hundreds of wires and patch panels, and it's supposed to be labeled, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you go to the.
But that's why we have electronic audible tracers.
I don't have one.
Oh, I got one.
I actually told the person there, the person who maintains that system actually passed away and didn't label anything. I told the owner, I'm like, I don't have one of these, but that is what you need.
And they're cheap. They're not that expensive nowadays.
Yeah. Yep.
Those that don't know, they call them sound generators or signal generators. You hook up one into a wire. You can go anywhere else, 100 feet away or whatever. You put it near it, beep, you get the noise.
Exactly.
You know which wire it is.
Exactly. You have a closet with 300 wires in it. You find the one that beeps.
Yeah. It's just a signal generator. That's all it is. All right, let's see. They want to know where you learned this stuff, Jim. I know, but Jim can tell you guys where he learned how to fix generators.
Where do you think I learned?
Well, you told me about a couple of the YouTube websites, right? The couple of guys you visited and stuff.
Yeah,
or does it go deeper?
There's no single spot, I will say. It's all over the place. And that's the problem. There wasn't much information on generators, but, I have seen YouTube videos on how to remove a rotor, with a hammer, with an air hammer, with a mallet, with the broad trick. Never seen anyone do water before, but I read in some service manuals you can use oil, and I'm like, why would you want oil on a tapered shaft? It needs to have a friction fit.
Oh yeah.
Oil seems like a bad idea, so I use water. But I guess the point is, it's service manuals, it's YouTube, it's Google, some of it's trial and error.
Now, let me ask you though, Jim, wasn't your first experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Onan in the motorhome?
That was my first video.
Oh, okay.
I was doing this a little bit before I started, and the first generator, actually my son found across the street. Neighbor threw it away. It was at the end of the driveway. So we brought it home, took it apart, couldn't get the rotor off. The stator was smoked, but I took the whole engine apart. I eventually got the rotor off, and it was just a learning. That was kind of my first experience with generators and really small engines at that level.
Pates is talking, I'm assuming he's talking about hooking it up for electric start. You got to make sure you got the battery. Now, Jim, today in your video, there was a few questions on there, and I was a little curious. One guy was questioning you checking resistance of a battery that had voltage in it.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you use the fused side of your meter?
I did not. Yeah, actually, it probably is. I haven't opened my meter. It doesn't have a changeable fuse, at least on the outside. But yeah, to test ohms, it's actually putting voltage through to see what the drop is. And then it calculates the ohms and yada, yada, yada. So if you're testing a battery with voltage in it for ohms, it's not going to work. And that battery was pretty much stone cold dead. It had a light surface charge. So I thought I'd test the ohms with it. But my meter also, if you touch something that has voltage, DC, it'll light up a light telling you, no, there's DC voltage here. Basically,
Yeah, because someone wrote in the comments a little dissertation on that, and I was just curious.
Yeah, and that's a good point, what he said. He's absolutely right.
Okay. Let's see here. Most generators have circuit breakers to protect the generator and people protection against damaging the stator in high load conditions.
They do. Yep. Okay. But sometimes people bypass those circuit breakers. I've found a couple generators, two, that I've picked up, that one had a bad stator. I saved all the other parts, one of them being the control panel. And I went to use it recently. I needed that fuse, so I was going to harvest the fuse out, and I popped the panel open and saw that the fuse was 100% bypassed.
Wow.
So now we know why that stator melted down, because it was popping the fuse. Someone got annoyed, bypassed the fuse, and then destroyed their generator.
Ooh, interesting. So don't screw around with the safeties. Okay, Jackhammer, glad we could help. WillieCK, what do we got here? Whenever I put oil, check compression spark before draining oil, sometimes cleaning the old oil out, flip the engine over. Oh, yeah, you got to get all the stuff out. It's just funny, though, when you're draining out oil, though, then you see like little fines, or you see maybe a little bit of water in there or something. I get nervous when I do that. Jim, do you ever, when you drain oil and see something like crazy or funky in there, do you ever use like a diesel or anything to maybe flush before you put fresh oil in?
I haven't. I will usually put oil back in it and just change it several times. I'll even use, if there's water in it, I'll sometimes use used oil that isn't contaminated, just to use it to flush out the stuff that's in the engine, the water specifically. I want to get it running. I want to build some heat in the engine, but I want to get the water out and as quickly as I can.
Cool. All right, Jim, put on your thinking cap. This one's going to be a good one.
All right.
There you go. What about the harmonic distortion? I'll let you go.
Yep. I do need a total harmonic distortion tester, but all I can say is brushless generators, they're very dirty power. And I think there's a lot of them out there. I don't think.
Well, let me interrupt you for 1 second before you start, because I want to play idiot here. What is total harmonic distortion?
Well,
or harmonic distortion.
Yeah, I probably can't do that justice, but if you can picture an AC sine wave, you know what that looks like?
Yep.
The distortion is the distortion in the sine wave due to whatever. It could be
like a choppiness or something, so dirty signal, or
it can be choppiness, different frequencies getting mixed in that shouldn't be there, just things that are polluting that sine wave. And yeah, I mean, sensitive electronics is a concern. I've never had an issue, but I use an inverter generator on my house.
How about a signal conditioner, though? Would that make it better for a precision device or a computer? So I've seen the conditioners out there, and I don't know, is it just bull, or would it really help? Or put it this way, if it was a dirty signal coming out of your generator, is a conditioner going to make it clean?
I think it'll help. I don't think it's going to be the holy grail as far as making it perfect. But there are conditioners. There are like the capacitor banks for soft starting large loads, like if you want to run an air conditioner or a well or things that just have a big surge. There are things you can do to kind of help.
Yeah.
But I would say, you know, if you're concerned about harmonic distortion, then either go with an inverter or go with a brushed generator, preferably with an AVR. And that doesn't guarantee that it's clean. You know, I've had brushed generators, hey Bruce, that aren't exactly clean either. You know, maybe the slip rings are dirty or something isn't quite right with the way it's wound.
Now, you would recommend, though, and correct me if I'm wrong again, an inverter generator for precision, like computers and expensive electronics, just because of the cleanliness of the signal, correct?
I would, yeah. I mean, they're more expensive, and that's probably the biggest shortcoming, but they're going to save on fuel, save on noise. The engine's going to last longer because it's running slower. And you're going to save potentially some sensitive things from getting cooked.
Everyone's saying hello to Bruce. The stars are out tonight. All right, let's see what else we have here. Bruce is saying hello to everybody. Bruce is 2 hours behind us, so it's 8:28 at Bruce's shop. Let's see if we got another question here. Oh, I just jumped again. Hate when it jumps. Like I said, guys, I'm going through this. I am at 10:15. It's 10:21, so I'm 6 minutes behind the conversation. Let me see. WillieCK had another thing. If the engine can't be flipped upside down, you can still flip it cam side down for a few seconds and wet the cam and spray fogging onto the intake. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could do it to make sure you get a bit of lube in there. And yeah, you before, if it hasn't started in such a long time, you do want to make sure you have lube on critical components. You really do. It may even be throwing in like a break-in lube with a zinc diphosphate or something, just so you get a little extra protection in there for the initial startup.
That's a good point. That's when I finally do start that 12-year-old Briggs, I might do something similar. You know, tip the engine upside down, shake it around. I was thinking even just pulling the spark plug, rotating it maybe with the drill, so it's not 3,600 RPM, but it at least gives it a chance to splash things around at lower speed.
I might even take the breather off, or even through the breather hole, put some fogging oil down there or something, just to get some stuff in there, you know?
Yeah, good point.
William, how much do you edit out of your videos when you mess up? If you do, I always do, but I don't know about Jim.
Yeah, I do edit the videos quite a bit. You know, I'm a bit OCD, you know, so like if I explain something and then I'm like, you know what, I don't like the way I explained it, I might shoot it several times, which kills me because in post-production, I then have to listen to several different versions of me saying the same thing to try to get the one that I really want to say. So I'm trying to cut down on that a bit because that actually slows me down quite a lot. And then there's other times where you forget to hit record. so you do something for 10 minutes and you look over and you're like, that was perfect. And then you go to stop it from recording and you're like, huh. So you put it back together and then hit record and do it again.
I'm looking at Bruce's comment, though. Do they sell square wave generators? I know they sell
Square.
half-wave.
Yeah.
Half-wave. Square wave?
I mean, not in a generator. It's on an inverter, like that you would
Okay.
buy and run off of a battery.
Okay.
But a lot of them are modified sine wave, which is just it's
You
basically
talking the
on
ones you
off.
plug into your car lighter socket so you power stuff in your car, that kind of thing?
Yeah, the ones that they sell at a gas station for like
Yeah.
$20. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I would say square wave must be really dirty then if you know, not smooth.
It is. Yeah, I've charged my laptop with it. Laptop still works.
Hey, our friend Scott Keller is here. Hello, Scott. Have you
Hey, Scott.
converted a generator to run propane from gasoline? I did 2 of them in my 21 years with generic kits that you bought on, at the time it was eBay. But you do have to watch because you want to make sure the regulators are correct and everything is sized properly. Because when you're talking gas like propane, stuff like that, it's water column is the pressure. It's sub PSI. It's very, very low. You have to make sure you have the right pressures and all that. But there are some great kits out there, generally made for specific engines. All the Hondas they sell kits for. Most of the Chinese Hondas they sell kits for. If you Google it on eBay or something, the kits are available for nearly any generator out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there is. And to answer the question, I haven't done it because it's a $20 clone carb or it's $150, $200 for the propane kit. And that is something I will do when I get a generator that has a tank that is so bad and the tank's not available. Then the only option, I shouldn't say the only option, but it would make sense at that point to just convert it to propane and then sell it without a tank, basically, without a gasoline tank.
Scotty, come on one of our streams and talk about that over the weekend, because we could talk about that. Is there any one particular brand of mechanical tools that you guys really like? I'll be honest with you, I own probably every brand ever made, because there's always one type of tool that only one manufacturer makes, and I buy tools based on need, not on brand. So, when I need something, if I find a sale and it's a good looking tool, I don't like rounded off 12-point wrenches because they just slip all the time and they're garbage. Some of the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh stuff, you know what? They've been in the tumbling barrel a little too long. They're a little too loose on the nuts. I'd rather have a precise broached wrench opening where it's nice and snug, 6-point preferably on stuff. But, hey, you get what you pay for. You do. I mean, there's times when Harbor Freight, hey, I buy stuff. We all do. But you get what you pay for.
Yeah, and I don't favor any brand. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I use every day, every video, I have no idea where it came from. Either I inherited it, I got it at a yard sale, or I found it in a drawer somewhere. And, it's just stuff that's been collected over the years. And I don't, if it gets the job done, then I keep it. If I don't like the tool, it goes in my other toolbox way in the corner and I forget about it.
I think next Q&A generator Q&A I'm doing, I'm having Bruce instead of you, Jim, because it sounds like he's a pretty smart dude over here.
Bruce?
Look,
he's a very smart guy. You should have Bruce on.
Well, I'd love to have Bruce on. Can I? Well, I was gonna say I'll send him the link, but we'll see. But anyway, talking about the third harmonic, I'm still a little with me, so I'll claim ignorance on that. The next one is going to be with you, Bruce, too. I'm going to have you and Jim on. Let me know when you can do it, and between the three of us, we'll confuse the hell out of everybody. So interesting. We got to talk about that over the weekend, Bruce, because I'd love to talk about that stuff. Because I'll be honest with you, it's like, okay. Anyway, Bruce is just showing his experience from working in that field all those years. GFI outlet on a generator would be a nice thing to see on a generator for additional safety.
They have them.
I was going to say, yeah.
They do have them. It's only on the 120 outlets, not on the, the higher voltage ones that connect to the house.
Let's see what else we got here. Scrolling down. Just jumped. Hold on. I am at 10:23 and it's 10. Oh, I'm only 5 minutes behind. I'm doing all right. Either that or the question is slowing down. Let's see. Bass guitarist is talking about editing. Is tedious, absolutely. It's all,
Yeah. Yeah. The message, getting it right, and the editing.
Mm.
It's I can't explain how much time that takes. And thankfully, I commute into New York City every day, so I'm stuck on the train at least 2 hours a day. So I do at least 2 hours of editing a day. And right now, I have at least 3 videos that are completely shot, but I'm still trying to piece all the parts together and compile it. It's just very time consuming.
And what are you using, Jim? Movie Maker? What are you actually using?
I'm using Filmora,
Well, tomorrow, okay.
which is all right.
Yeah.
I started off with Movie Maker because it was really simple.
Yep.
And I outgrew it, so I went to Filmora, and I'm kind of at the point now where I'm starting to consider, going to that next level, because Filmora does have limitations.
Square root generator, for example.
Wow.
You know what, bass guitar? You're coming up next time too.
Yeah. I'd love to have him up.
Oh yeah, it'd be fun. He's actually, literally 35, 40 minutes from me up north. So
yeah,
not too bad. Another people asking about, do a search. There's a lot of videos on the conversion to propane and natural gas. Like I said, the kits are readily available. They're not hard to do. Just be careful and read the instructions and follow all safety precautions. Let's see. I'm a dealer for U.S. Oh, really? He's a dealer for U.S. Carb. Really? Oh, we got to talk some more bass guitar.
Yeah, leaner is cooler, right? It's the opposite of gas.
Yep. Absolutely. What is this here? Why do Briggs have plastic starter? A lot of them have plastic recoil starter pawls. It's so they can break and you have to buy new ones.
Yeah,
because
they
you want
all
that
do.
to fail instead of the starter cup. It's easier to replace a $2 pawl than a $12 cup. So let's see.
True.
What else do we have here? Brucey loves the Generac video a few days ago. Okay. See, Jim, even Brucey watched it. You got some good fans.
Trying to think.
Here's your biggest technical fan here. I wish you measure the total harmonic distortion for every generator you fit. But you got to get one of those testers, you said, right? How much are those? You talking big bucks?
Yeah, I was looking at a Fluke that had one. It was about $2,000.
No. Wish list.
So,
wish list.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? This is a hobby. Maybe someday. But there are cheaper ones, and I got that cheap oscilloscope, a few months back, and I've been trying to force myself to use that more often. I think the big problem is that a lot of times I'm outside, and if it's a sunny day out, you're not going to see anything on the screen. So a lot of times I don't break it out just because no one's going to see anything. So I kind of wait for cloudy days and then I run out and do all my testing.
Bruce, honestly, if you would like to do a live, even you tell me when, I will get Jim and myself, and we'll leave it up to you. I know Jim has certain times because of his family and all that stuff, but I would love to have you throw some stuff out there as well, Bruce, because I know that was what you did. I mean, you worked in communications, powered and distribution, signals, and all that stuff. So it would be fun. Yeah. It is quick. If you want to come up, Bruce, I'll email you the link. It's up to you, but I don't want to take up a lot of your time. Let's see. Here's Detective. What's he talking about? It's all I know about third harmonic range 2. It's clearly a question of weight ratios. Okay.
Yeah, it's beyond me. I need to do more research.
RFC. Now I know what a choke is and all that stuff, but it's getting a little heavy for me. But we got to get between you, not me. I'm just a host, but I'm saying between Jim, Bruce, and basically, what's your first name, bass guitar? Do I know your first name? I'd like to call you by your first name instead of bass guitar. But see that now, bass guitar's got a fan in Bruce's shop now, so he's hitting the big time now. You get Bruce to give you the thumbs up, you're good. What does William say here? Do a series of videos about how electronic work on a generator. Yeah, electronics for dummies. I mean, if you look at Jim's videos, if you binge watch some of Jim's basic videos, especially the ones that say do not generate or no power, he will talk about the theory of it and what they actually do, the different parts and things like that. So, I'll be honest, I binge watched Jim a couple of weekends, and it gave me a comfort in working on them. And I actually contacted Jim a while back when I didn't really know about this McCulloch generator that had a capacitor in it. I didn't know about the farad rating and everything else, what I could do. So watch some of the videos, William. He really just binge watch one weekend, just have some fun. Let's see. Bass guitar, leaner for vaporous fuels. Yep.
I think he said his name is Gary.
Did you say Gary? Right? Hold on, I'm probably not there yet.
I could be wrong. I have terrible eyesight.
Oh, here we go. Jim, you want a power harmonics analyzer.
Right, exactly. See all the dollar signs? You can just look at the sine wave and you can tell.
Well, here's the thing. We had to buy at work. Now that you say that, Bruce, I support the load banks that we have that power and test the helicopters. Okay, we have to you want to talk about dollars? Yeah. Just a fan, a muffin fan. Remember, this is 400 hertz that aircraft run on. Okay, a muffin fan, $5,000 for a 400 hertz muffin fan.
It's crazy.
Unbelievable. Oh yeah, it's
a load bank would be nice. A nice 10,000 watt load bank, but again, it's like what, $5,000
minimum $5,000. Yep.
Absolutely. A couple elements and fans. I'm like, I can go down Home Depot and spend $20 and
Yep. Miller Motor.
When
I said signal generator, I meant tracing wires. Like if you have a wire in your house and you don't know where the end is, that's what I'm talking. Low power signal generator, just to generate the signal. I know that there is a difference between generating power and generating an electronic signal and all that. So I agree. I totally agree. Oh, it is Gary. Hello, Gary. Okay, now that we know that, 10:33. I'm 2 minutes behind. Ooh, we're catching up. Let's see. Okay. Lawnmower was a Monty Python reference. Okay. I'm trying to moderate, Dave. I'm a little slow tonight. Here's a question, Jim. Is there a source for used stators and generator parts, or a good place to buy new parts?
If you're talking generator stators, like in generator rotors, not a great source. I think the best one I've found so far is Ryobi, actually. Their pricing is very good, and they are theoretically compatible with a lot of Honda clones because they're all clones of the same engine. So if you have a Honda clone with a bad stator or rotor, you could buy the entire power head from Ryobi and it should bolt on. But the thing you're going to get into trouble on is, again, you don't know how long that stator is. So the exhaust might be a problem. You're probably going to need a new rotor bolt. There's two different size rotor bolts. Which one do you have versus the Ryobi? But in general, Ryobi, I think their 5,500 watt generator head is rotor and stator, $210.
Now, what is that? Yeah. What brands are those used on? I mean, more on like the PowerMate or the Briggs, or what are those really used on besides a Ryobi generator?
It's all the newer stuff. I mean, it's you name it.
All the Chinese ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, which is pretty much everything that they sell. Like, a lot of people don't realize this. Even Briggs and Stratton. Mm-hmm. I have a Briggs over there right now. It has a 420cc Chinese clone on it. Yeah. So most have that engine on it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Doug Jones, when I run out the gas with the 85, do I need to flush out the carb? I don't think you have to. I would just make sure the drain is out, the drain bolt or whatever, let it air out so it doesn't just settle. Because when you drain the carb, it's never, I always pull the float bowl off, make sure it's fully drained, because, an 1/8 of an inch sitting in the bottom there, that could cause havoc,
Yeah, I don't go that far, but I do pull the drain bolt and let it drip for a while. Also, when you shut the fuel valve off, that fuel valve could be a foot away from the carburetor, and there is still fuel usually in the line. So what I find is that you drain it out, you think it's empty, and then 2 hours later you come back, guess what? Some more fuel kind of trickled through that line, and now there's a little bit of fuel in your carb again. So I would leave the bolt out for a bit. Just don't lose it or forget to put it back in. because your generator won't work too well.
I've had it too, where you shut the fuel off, you drain out the bowl, then the next spring or whatever, you go to turn on that fuel, it pushes out a foot-long bunch of crap fuel, because it was sitting there at like a trap.
It's in the line.
Yeah, exactly. So
it drives me nuts too. Speaking of that, the fuel line I use oxidizes or does something with the fuel. Like I'll put brand new fuel in a generator with brand new fuel line. If that fuel goes into the new fuel line and sits there for like 30 minutes, it'll come out looking like 3-year-old fuel. I mean,
really?
It's just crazy.
You talking like looking like urine, or what do you mean, like yellow?
Yeah, just very dark, varnishy color. So I don't know if it's the black dye coming out or if there's actually a chemical reaction going on, but I don't like the fuel line just because of that. Like I don't want to
look on your fuel line though to see if it's the SAEJ specification for ethanol rated fuels, because there is an SAE specification on that. And I will only buy that line that has that. I'll put it in notes. There's a SAEJ something or other spec for ethanol fuels that will not react. So
all
right.
That might be it.
Saying 345K 240 AC heater fan switchable, $60. Well, that's cheap. Where do you get that, Gary? Put the link in there somewhere. Put it in the comments. I'd like to get one to use.
Yeah, I would definitely get that.
That's for cheap, because you use a couple of portables, right, Jim?
I usually use 2, which go up to 3,000 watts. But I mean, going up to 5,000 would be
perfect. $60, man, that's cheap.
Yeah, send me the link. I want to upgrade.
I'll buy one for you, Jim.
Thanks.
Paul Calabrese. Hello, Paul. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Paul.
All right, let's see what we got here. How far away? 10. Let's see. Getting close. It's 10:40. How you doing on time, Jim?
I'm fine. I'm still awake.
Okay. All right. No, I just want to make sure. What is this? Guess one is repaired. Does he live on Drury Lane? It's got to be another Monty Python. Right? My cat is here. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What? What do you want?
He wants some love.
He does. What do you want?
Or food.
He wants me to play. I can't play with him now. I'm online. All right. But at least he's healthy, so that's the main thing. He gave us a big scare and used up a bunch of money. But anyway, we love him.
You don't know how many scenes I've had to reshoot because my cat walks right in front of him, and I'm like, get out of the way.
You know what? Keep it in. The audience probably love it.
Yeah, there was one I was going to leave in. So I'm like concluding the video, and the cat just walks right in front of the generator. So I just start tracking the cat.
Why not? I know of a load box that used to work and no one uses it anymore. Bruce, you have my address.
No kidding.
I'll pay shipping.
Drive it over.
There you go. Let me see here. What else? Have you guys ever done electrolysis to get roasted? To me, honestly, too slow. I like evapor rust. I like wire brush. I mean, I'm the type of guy who likes it to happen now. And while electrolysis is good, I don't have that kind of time. Sorry.
Yeah, I use Evaporust too. Same reason. I'm impatient, and Evaporust works fairly quickly. I mean, don't get me wrong. It still takes days, but it does a good job.
Yeah, and it's biodegradable. You can pour it out.
Right, and it's fairly safe. I mean, electrolysis is safe.
Yeah, it is too, except for the hydrogen gas that you don't want to breathe in.
True. Well, or explode.
Yeah, that too. Gary, on a scope with at least 4 times the harmonics. See, now you're talking Chinese. Right? On a scope with at least 4 times the harmonics of the fundamental frequency, you're often okay. The fluke analyzers just give an easy to read harmonics content and percentage.
Yeah.
All right. Again, guys. All right.
Yeah. I see. That's a little bit. I need to do more research in this area. I know actually that sheep scope I bought does have something that'll show harmonics, like what frequencies. But yeah, I mean, even finding the setting on it takes me a few minutes.
There's no geeky comments, Bruce. It's called technology and technical expertise. Let's see. There's another comment. Boy, Gary's loaded tonight. Generac is expensive because of their Class F insulation. Okay. Yeah, you want the higher rating, right?
I didn't know that. I thought they were all F.
Huh. Interesting.
I thought you were paying for the name. because they all have the same clones that, at least on the outside, they seem to be the same.
I think we're all pretty much geeks out here. If there's any issue, that's why I got into small engines. I love a challenge. I love to fix stuff. I took the toaster apart when I was 4 years old. I mean, I need to know how stuff works. Even though I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer by degree. I need to know how stuff works. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I used to take apart anything and everything.
Let's see. I'm up to 10:38. Ooh, I'm getting behind. Unless there's more comments. Hold on. Here's one. Does anyone know anything about TD Cayman engines? I'm looking at the TD Cayman. I don't know if I know that. Anybody know what that brand is? TD Cayman? I don't know if I know that. Where you coming from, Ross? Are you in the U.S.? Are you Europe? What are you? Or where are you? Yeah. Interesting. I don't recall that brand.
Nor do I. And 16 horse. That's pretty
big.
Is that on a generator? Is that a single or a 2-cylinder?
See if he puts another comment in. Gary, what are we talking about? It was a flea market deal normally or 120. Oh, you bought one for 60. It's normally 100. Even 120 though. That's not bad though for 5,000. I don't think that's too bad. You know.
No.
If you have the brand and the model, post it, Gary, because I'd be curious in that.
eBay.
Because load banks are just too darn expensive.
They sure are.
William, what kind of oil? That's like saying, what kind of food do I eat? Come on. It depends on what it is, William. On flatheads, I like to use straight 30 in flatheads unless it's going to be, sub-freezing. Other than that, 10W30 for everything. And I like to use synthetics or synthetic blends. But 90% of the oils out there now are synthetic blends.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm the same here. If it's a summer machine that only gets used in the summer, I always use 30.
30, correct. Yeah.
But yeah, around here, 1030 synthetic is usually safe, especially on a generator where you might be using it in February when it's frigid.
I think you'd have a bidding war on that, Bruce. So make sure you tell us when you get it. Let's see. Hey, this is a good saying. I got a T-shirt. Lord grant me patience, but hurry. Let's see what else we got. Mark was talking about a load bank. I use a drop-in electric range 2-foot. Okay, yeah. I mean, a little big, but I don't know if I'm filling that out to the backyard every time I worked on a generator.
But there's a small engine guy south of me that he gave me a generator I made a video on once, and he had made his own load bank, which is very cool. It hooks up to the 240, but he made, the only way I can explain it is he made an oil tank with hot water heater elements and different switches to turn on the different elements. So it's a very small setup, no fan. So, I mean, there's a limited amount of time how long you can have it on before the oil reaches, critical temperatures. But he said he can leave it on for at least, 15, 20 minutes and have it perfectly safe. Huh. So it's an interesting way to load test with a homemade, bank with hot water heater elements.
NeuroGar 24 on inverters. I got to look that up. We got to check this guy out.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Ray is asking. Ray, he said he's using about 10%. Jim is about 10%.
Yeah. 10% is fine. If it's a really bad carb, maybe do 20%, but 10% usually
it's the Harbor Freight stuff that looks like Mountain Dew.
Exactly.
Let's see. Watch it, Dave. All right, it's not food related. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Do you guys have any history using gasket paper instead of? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I did that the other day.
This is everything. Yeah. You have what you put it this way. Better to, what do they say? Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So, I mean, I won't buy tons of gaskets. I have a bunch. But you know what? Like with the Hondas, Jim, do you stock Honda gaskets or do you do it, each time you need it?
I recently did start stocking Honda, like the GX390 style gaskets. because I always need them. And the Subaru, the EX30, because
Yep.
they always rip when you take the carburetor off. So I have those. I have random other ones, and I have a big roll of gasket paper, because if the only thing that the generator needs is a gasket, I'm not going to order it and wait, and pay $8 for something that's, costs 10 cents to make yourself.
Yep. And I bought a bunch of gasket punches and things like that. So you always have, and there's always ways to make them and so forth and all that stuff.
Exactly. I've got hole punches, leather punches, scissors.
And if you ever notice when you're taking apart a carburetor, pulling it off, if the gasket is like a greenish blue in color, it's going to delaminate. Always. I don't think I've had one of them, that greenish bluish paper, that hasn't delaminated trying to pull it off.
Yeah. I just, the one I was working on yesterday, I was having a lot of trouble getting this engine to run right. The
this is the blue one, or?
No, actually, this you haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Actually, it's if you look at my community post today, it's that one.
Okay.
But it had issues. The little spring on the rod that connects the governor arm to the carburetor. The spring was all stretched out. So I'm like, all right, it's surging because of that. I'm trying to fix that. Then I discovered someone put the gasket on like upside down.
Oh,
so it was actually blocking the hole halfway. Like, that has to be it. Flipped it around, still surging. Finally realized the carb that was on it was an aftermarket carb. And
too small.
I had the original OEM carb that someone had pulled off the machine. I put the OEM back on. Perfect. 2 hours later.
Yeah, Chinese isn't always the answer.
Not always.
What's Gary saying? Name that too, but the construction of the stators of the higher models, laminations are offset fanned.
Yes.
You want to explain that? Because I'm thinking.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gonna. He can do a better job than me, but I will say, once you hit like the 8,000, 10,000 watt range, especially on Generac, the quality, goes way up. As far as they're not. I think they're built locally. They're not cheap stators. But
what do you mean by offset fan, though? Is that what is offset fanned? I mean,
I'll let Gary answer
I'm just
that
curious.
one.
I mean,
I think it's the way it's the way it's wound.
Okay, all right, that's
different.
Okay, no problem.
But sometimes
I'm thinking people are thinking, oh, there's a fan on the end that blows air. No, it's the way the windings are literally wound.
Yeah, and sometimes you open up a generator head and you're like, wow, someone actually put some effort into this one. Like the rotor is actually coated in a resin so the wires don't shake off. The stator, the paper, the way it's wound is just beautiful to look at.
Ray, I think Jim can give you a run for your money on that statement.
What? Oh.
A geodatabase.
SWL server with 8 editors. Yeah, I don't know about that. Geodatabases. I'm all SQL, Microsoft SQL, on SWL server. Is that Linux? What is that? I'm Windows. So I'm a Microsoft guy.
We'll see if he chimes back in. It's a forced hot air garage heater. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Let's see. Oh, Bama came back from the hospital. Hope you're doing well, Bama. Hope you're feeling better, Doug. Thanks for showing up. Prayers are out to you, buddy. Let's see. Bama's a good friend of the Ken Small Engine family. Let's see. Bruce makes gaskets out of gasket paper. Yep. We all have gasket paper. I've used cereal boxes. I've used.
Yep.
Oh, the last one. I actually made one out of a Planters Peanuts plastic lid. And because I needed a little bit of compliance because the surface had some scratches and gouges in it. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of compliance, and the plastic that lid was made from wasn't soft, but it had some compliance to it. So when I torqued it down, there was no leaks. I actually tested it and it worked. So you use what you have to use.
Yeah,
I mean, use goop when I can avoid it.
Exactly. You do what you have to do to get it to run, but Let me ask you this: have you ever swapped out a fuel pump on a Kohler engine, the mechanical fuel pump?
Yep, with a vacuum brakes.
No, just with another mechanical.
Yeah.
On a Kohler.
Yep.
Have you ever used the Stens one?
Yep.
All right. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
With this spacer installed,
yep,
it doesn't hit the cam.
Yeah, why would you have a spacer in there? The arm's
exactly.
not long enough?
The kit came with a spacer. The original pump had no spacer.
Never seen a spacer before.
I installed it with the spacer and it didn't work. There's no instructions. They just sent a spacer with it, and I'm like, okay, I guess I use it.
I've never seen a spacer ever, and I've done hundreds of those. Never. I'm serious. I don't know why you'd have a spacer.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It'd pull the arm away from the lobe. Why would you want that? I mean,
exactly. I'm like, it's almost 20 thousandths further away. So I tried it. I'm like, I don't want to put it too close and destroy the new pump.
But even if it contacts, Jim, with that less of a contact, you're getting less effective stroke. It's not going to pump the way it's supposed to, even if it's contacting. So
it didn't. It didn't pump. Yeah. I put it all back together. I'm like, doesn't work.
Now, did that have the funky plastic, any orientation you want looking elbows on it, where it looked like a gear cut into it, where you can rotate?
Yeah.
And the stupid retaining ring installation tool.
Yeah, I had that too. Again, no instructions.
There you go. There's the installation.
I don't know why it didn't come with instructions. I guess
don't
it
you love it?
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine call me up. He goes, Kenny, where's this retaining ring go? What are we talking about? How the hell do you use it? I said, don't worry about it. Throw it away. So
it goes inside the engine. Just drop it in.
There you go. We talked about that before, Adam, about propane and gas conversions. I've done a few. If you go on eBay and look up some of the kits, and there are a lot of YouTube videos on them too, buy a reputable kit from a reputable company, and the instructions are generally good in there. But you do get what you pay for. If you see a kit for $200 and one for $50, buy the $200 kit, because chances are the regulator is made out of better materials and all that. Don't go for price when it comes to a gas conversion, because you'll get a lot of crap.
The regulator is key. It has to be good.
Absolutely.
If it's good, it'll last forever.
Yep.
Well, maybe not forever, but it'll last a long time.
Yeah. I don't have a salvage yard, Ross. I mean, if I need something, I always stock spare engines and carbs and pumps and things like that, so I can pick through my own boneyard. And Jim, a lot of times he'll say, someone gave me this, and if it doesn't work, it's a parts machine. You take it apart. And I'll be honest with you, when I go to my local town dump, they let me take stuff. They don't like you to play with it while you're in there, but I'll throw it in the back of the truck, bring it home, take off every metric screw and every shoulder bolt and all the stuff you're going to need someday, and I'll throw it in a tin can and bring the carcass back to whatever's left. But I have my own, part sources, and I will buy a parts machine. If someone's throwing away a lawnmower for $10 or something, I'll buy it for the parts.
Yeah. Yep. No, I do the same. I keep the parts I think I'm going to need. But I don't want to keep too many, because I may never need them. It's always the part too I throw away. I'm like, the next day, it's like, oh, I need that part. But, oh well.
Yep. Yeah, I stock some gaskets, the stuff I know I'll always use. But I like making gaskets with the gasket punches and all that stuff.
Yeah. I've tried using a small hammer to do it. And after about 5 minutes, I just went back to the punch. Like, I don't have that skill.
There you go. William, who has the time, William? Who has the time? I know. You could write one. My life is a YouTube generator guy.
I would like to design a generator someday.
What, an inverter or what?
No, just kind of the best things I see in different generators, and staying away from some of the worst. Some generators have some really stupid, not just generators, engine designs are just stupid.
Oh yeah.
Not a lot of thought sometimes, at least for service.
Gary's explaining to us about the fan.
Yeah.
The corkscrew, you have straight lamination bars inside the head. You can see not straight front to back, but crooked, like twisted. Okay, yeah, it does. Absolutely. Yep. Okay, I understand. K series. I love my K series, Bruce. I have 13 of them right now, or 14 or 15. I don't know. I just got another one, and actually a Magnum 8. So that's another one I have. Who's popping in to say hi, Jason? Hey, Jason. Thank you for showing up. I know it's like 4 a.m. over there, so good morning. So it's 5 hours different in the UK. So I am the K series dude. I love the K series. That's how I got started. In fact, where's my hat? I got started on K series with an International Harvester Cub Cadet made by International Harvester. That's how I got started back in 2000. Let's see. Oh, Ray had fuel pumps with the spacer. Snapping is constant, but spacers, I've never. Was it a Stens kit? Because the Kohler kit, you said it was a Stens, right, Jim?
It was a Stens, yeah.
Yeah, I've never had an OEM Kohler plastic replacement pump come with the spacer. I've never seen the spacer on an IPL. I got to start looking at some of my IPLs, but I've never seen the spacer on an IPL. Unless there's a different cam lobe, a bigger cam lobe on the particular application, I don't know why you'd need it. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably it probably makes it compatible with more engines.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a certain engine requires it, but it doesn't say in the kit which engine needs it.
Yeah, particular brand spark plug. I'll be honest, Adam. I am a champion guy. I love champions, always have. NGKs are always great. Stay away from torch plugs. I don't have any luck with them. There's 3 or 4 guys, my friends over in the UK, who love them to death. I don't like them. Steve Small Engine just did a video the other day. Walbro is now having Auto Light make spark plugs with the Walbro name on them, so you can get those. But if you stick with the names, the champions, the NGKs, that kind of thing, I haven't heard that much good stuff about the Bosch plugs, like for chainsaws and things. Like I said, NGK and Champion, as far as I'm concerned. I do use Autolite for the K series. The 216 plug for the Autolite on the K series works really well. And you know what? I'll be honest with you guys. I'm hearing now there are certain applications, like a Husqvarna 125 strimmer. Do not use a resistor plug. It won't work. Why? Well, because resistors make the plug burn slower. Okay, the spark travels slower, so you have to watch. And then in conjunction with a resistor spark plug boot and a resistor plug, your flame travel or your spark travel is so slow, it just won't run correctly. So you learn things all the time, you know? Gary is heading off. Let me see. Can we head off soon? Definitely get in contact. You got my email there. Shoot me an email. Definitely get in contact. I'd love to talk stuff like this with you. And I'm sure Jim would love to meet you. Maybe we could all meet up and have a sandwich or a drink or something.
Absolutely.
We're all within 45 minutes of each other, give or take. So that's not too bad. Yeah, definitely, Gary. Definitely. DC is saying good night. So good night. I think I'm all done with the chat. Hold on. Let me see here. I think this is a funny one. Had to remove a generator to get the carb off. Yeah, you know what, Bruce? What's my favorite model, Jim, of Generac? What's the model that they make?
I think it was the XG series.
Stupid design of the frame. I can't stand it.
Yeah,
I end up taking the stupid studs out to take the carbs off. I've been doing that lately on those because you can't even get the 10mm socket in there to take off the screw.
It's terrible. You can't even access anything to drain the carb either, but to service it is a nightmare.
How about the V-twins? The air cleaner on the V-twins?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. The XG 10,000 V-twin.
Terrible.
The carb is a nightmare to get to. And the airbox, you know, most airboxes have those metal bushings, so you can't over tighten it and crack the box. The, $2,000 or $3,000 Generac XG 10,000, all plastic box. Tightened it to 60 inch-pounds, cracked the box in half.
Oh, that's what I want to ask you. That's a big question of mine. Every time, I mean, my torque wrench is right here. It's calibrated.
Yep.
Now when you're doing your stuff, click, 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 click. What did you use or what do you use to determine all your torque values on all your small screws and bolts?
It's service manuals, but not all the time. Like it's the service manuals for the important stuff. You know, for carburetors of the 13 horse, engine size, 60 inch-pounds. I mean, most service manuals will say probably a little more, like 80. But I've never had a problem. I prefer to go lighter.
Good night, Gary.
And
thank you. Thank you so much.
It's never given me trouble. So most bolts, like blower housing, carburetor,
yep,
60. You know.
Ray, I have the video coming out on that. It was a very simple problem. I'll put that video out by the weekend. Fuel delivery issue, but I'll put it out in the video. Let's see. Tom Hughes, Jim, your opinion on what are some of the better generators? What's your opinion on some of the brands? Because aren't some of them all like the same now in some cases?
Yes and no. A lot. I mean, if you're talking 8,000 watts or less, yeah, they're pretty much all Honda clones. I think the big standouts would be companies that actually support their generators. Do they sell all the parts that you might need? Because a lot do not. And if it's something you want to fix when it breaks, that's something to keep, in mind. Is like, a company like Generac, a Honda, they will sell their parts. Or if you have a name brand engine, whether it's a Yamaha, a Honda, a Subaru, something where you can go to the engine manufacturer and buy any part you want, there's value in that. If you get a clone, and this happened to me recently, I needed a new connecting rod. There's no part numbers. There's no diagrams. I don't even know who makes the engine. They don't put their name on it. Huh. So something simple like a connecting rod for a clone becomes a guessing game. You don't know what to order.
There are so many not newer, but so many brands. I just discovered a brand a few weeks ago. It was a chainsaw made by MTD years ago, a company called Genfeng, which is a Taiwan engine manufacturer that was bought by Husqvarna in 2008. And then after Husqvarna bought them, they were sued because they weren't meeting emissions regulations. So all the saws were recalled and stuff like that. But this company, I'd never heard of them before. If you go to an IPL for this saw, every single part except for hardware discontinued because it did not meet U.S. emissions regulations before. They didn't do the test. They didn't get approved. They sold them through Sears, and they had to recall all the saws. So it was really,
It's sad when there's no support. I mean, that's a little different, but like even the other day I was working on one. I needed a coil, right? Coils discontinued.
Yeah, whatever happened? I saw the part numbers. Did you ever find anything? You said yours had to be flipped upside down or something?
I flipped the coil the wrong way.
Okay.
And I had to modify the blower housing to send the wire out the other way.
Thanks, Dave.
And there's just really not a lot of space, but I made it work because otherwise it's a paperweight. There are no options for the correct coil. But there is a coil that physically fits the flywheel and the mounting studs, but it has to be mounted the other way.
The other way, yeah.
It has to be,
just
or it won't
quickly,
start.
Dave, thank you for the super chat, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I mean, watch it. I tell you, Jim and Bruce and I, we need to know. I'm not saying we're geeks or we're nerds or anything like that, but I just need to know. I don't care what it is. I need to know how stuff works. It's in me, So, well, Brucey, we got to get together too and talk about this stuff. It'll be another generator Q&A, but we'll get Gary, we'll get yourself and Jim, and it'll be fun next time. I definitely want to do the four of us. That'll be a heck of a time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, yeah, but you know what, Chris? I'll be honest with you. My dealer, or one of my friends who's a dealer, when he works on Chinese engines, you buy them by the pallet load, the skid load. They'll sell you spare engines literally for $5 an engine if you buy 100. So they don't want to sell you spare parts. They want to sell you spare engines. So in a lot of cases with some of these Chinese engines, my dealer will buy 500 of them for $2,500. And instead of saying, I'll warranty it, he's just going to give you another one.
But even if they put their name on it and a model and it had a parts diagram, they don't even have to make the parts. But say I have a blown up clone engine and I want to part it out on eBay.
Yeah.
I can't even do that because I can't positively identify what I have to tell someone else who's looking for that part. So it's like it's all I don't want to say it's trash, but
Yep.
how can you match it up if you don't have anything to match to? You know, I feel like I don't like government interfering in things where they shouldn't, but I honestly think they should be doing something to say, look, if you're going to sell an engine, at least have a parts diagram with numbers and sell some parts for it, for God's sakes.
Adam, your question here, if you scroll back about 30 minutes ago, he talked about his neighbor was throwing away a generator, and that's the first one that he worked on. So take a look at that.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. They also fit nicely in the car.
There you go. Oh yeah, what was the how? Let me just ask this a different way. What was the most you've ever had in that car or in that?
The largest generator?
No, how many? Didn't you had the 2 generators?
Oh yeah, I can fit 2. Okay. Yeah, I gotta pull down the seats.
When they weigh 400 pounds, you know.
Yeah, it's I had the 2 Generacs in there. I've had 2 several times in the car at once. It was actually one day I needed to get 3 generators, and I'm like, great, I got to make 2 trips.
I actually do pretty well at Jeopardy, Dave. My wife and I watch it every night. Let's see. Doesn't know. Let's see what we got here. Hey, James. How's your built hard generator?
It's doing well. I haven't, since the video, I haven't used it a whole lot. I am going to do another video with different generator types, just showing on the oscilloscope what they look like under load and without a load. So a lot of people have been asking for that, show me what a brushless looks like.
Which one is the blue hard, Jim? Which one is that?
It's the little blue inverter. I did a video on.
Yep. I got you. Let's see. From a copy generator. All right. Well, there's nothing else in the chat, so I'm going to stop here. It's been an hour and 51 minutes for me and a little less than that for Jim. So, Jim, I want to thank you as always. I think it was great. I mean, we answered a lot of questions. Yep. That's why I do this. It's Q&A. It's technical. We'll get the word out there, introduce ourselves and all that. But anyway, guys, like it, subscribe to both of us. I've got some decent small engine stuff. He's got fantastic generator stuff. Bruce and all the rest of them in here. Check out all the channels. Everyone that's in the comments, check out everyone's channels. Like and subscribe and have some fun. I definitely am going to get a hold of Gary. We'll get Gary, yourself, Bruce. That would be a heck of a panel. So I definitely want to try that. I want to thank everyone for the great questions. If there's anyone that's just watching this on replay and it's tomorrow, our UK friends and those at Points East, put questions in the comments. Jim and I will take a look during the week and we'll try and figure out an answer for you guys or at least try and steer you in the right direction. The goal of this is to answer your questions. So I hope we've done that tonight and hopefully going forward we'll do it. So thank you, Jim, Bruce, everyone in the chat, Gary especially as well. It was great. And we'll catch you later. Thanks again, Jim.
All right.
Take care, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.